Welcome back, everybody. Mildly a Big Deal podcast with Bo Clowers. I've been thinking about the crazy things that happen, like when you just live your life on the road, and like all the weird things I've seen traveling. Um, as I've said before on here, and most of you probably know, I'm a travel nurse, so always on the road. I've been in 36 states as a nurse. I've been in 46 of the 50 states. Haven't been to Alaska or Hawaii. And the ones in the continental U.S. that I haven't been to Delaware or Rhode Island, which is a shame because I lived an hour or so from Delaware for like 4 years and just never made it over there. But anyways, you live your life on the road, and I was thinking about some of the crazy stuff. When I was in Indiana, I I was in Indiana, and I was stopped at a red light. There was a unhoused, whatever you want to call, lady that was crossing the uh, the road there at the red light at the intersection, going through the crosswalk, and she gets right in front of my truck, and she stops. She turns, she looks at my truck, and she throws a piece of raw salmon onto the hood of my car, pulls her shirt up, shows her boobs, and yells, "I'm crossing here, asshole." I have never felt more confused in my life. Part of me, for some reason, felt like it was, like I was being assaulted, it felt like weirdly, like sexual. I don't know. I didn't like it. But, a homeless lady threw a piece of salmon onto my truck, lifts her shirt up, shows her tits, yells, "I'm walking here, asshole," and then just storms across the street. One of the most confusing moments of my life. Like, how often does that happen? You don't have that happen when you're like an in-house, everyday nurse. But, I don't know, it is what it is. You see all sorts of crazy, fun stuff. I've told the story in the past about seeing a field that lady had made an art presentation, and it was all variations of art that were all of her vagina. What are the odds of that happening? I don't know, you just see everything. I stopped in, I believe it was Texas. It could have been New Mexico, but I think it's somewhere. No, I think it's New Mexico. And I drove like 40, 50 miles out of the way because I saw a sign that said the world's largest pistachio. I'm not really into pistachios. I love pistachio pudding, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really eat the nuts. I'm not a big fan. But when you're 40 miles away from the world's largest pistachio, you make the effort. So I drive myself 40 miles out of the way, follow the signs. Finally, I see it. And it's not even a real pistachio. It's not even a real nut. It is a, like, wood carving of a nut. Come on, people. That's false advertisement. You got me all excited about some pistachio nut, and I show up and it's a big chunk of wood? Come on now. That's not fair. It's not fair at all. I went out to, it was in Arizona. I had my old dog. I used to travel with my old dog, and his name was Wonka, and he was just the best. He was this big, fat, obese Australian Shepherd mix. He was perfect. Anyways, we are out there, and we went to see the Painted Desert, just me and Wonka. And it was cute because of the sand, I took a bandana because they said make sure you keep the sand out of their ears. So I took a bandana and put it around his head. He looked like a little old lady. It was super cute. So like we're walking through the desert, right? The painted desert. And he's a little ways out in front of me, and I see a roadrunner, like the bird. And so it's like walking and walking and walking. And then it doesn't stop walking, but it sees Wonka and it keeps walking one direction. And it just turns his head slowly over there to look at him. And Wonka's walking and he just stops. And the bird stops. And all of a sudden the bird just turns his body over towards the direction Wonka's at and just starts walking towards him. Just walking. And as soon as he starts, Wonka, this fat dog has not run in years. And he just sprints. Takes off, sprinting to the car, jumped over this little like 3-foot little ravine thing, hopped it like a freaking fancy, one of them fancy jumping horses, jumped it like it's nothing. Just whoop, hops it. I was so scared that I lost him, which is crazy because he's so big, he's so sweet, he was never going anywhere. But literally, I get to the car and Wonka is waiting on me at the car, looking at me like, I don't know what that was, but we're leaving. That was some bullshit, and we're leaving. It was so funny. I laughed. I still get tickled thinking about it. He was so cute. Oh, man. That was the painted desert. That dog, he would travel, and he was never made a sound. He was a sweet dog, never barked at anybody, never had any sort of, like, aggressive bone in his body. And then anytime that we would stay on, like, a above the ground level, like, 2, 3, 4, whatever, we would stay, and as long as he was up off the ground, he would bark at everybody that walked by. Bark, growl at them. I guess it was because, like, a power thing, like he thought he was more powerful than they were because he was higher up, maybe? I don't really know, but it was hilarious. I would always get so irritated because he was so quiet all the time. Get him up off the ground, and he's just... That was hilarious. He wound up... There was a lady at a motel that shoved him down a flight of stairs, which was a problem. She just said, I don't like dogs, and shoved him down a flight of stairs. And it broke both of his back knees, more or less. So his last couple of years of life, he wasn't in pain, but he'd had trouble walking, so I would wheel him around in a little red wagon, one of those like Walmart cloth type wagons. And we actually had two. He had the main one we used was a little red wagon, and then we also had a like black all-terrain with these big old wheels wagon. That was for when we went to the ocean and got out on the sands and stuff. Because I took him to every ocean in the country. I think we saw every ocean and every Great Lake that you can see. I took Wonka to, which I'm going to do now with Oliver. But anyways, I went blank on what story I was going to tell. Oh, so me and Wonka, we're in Reno, Nevada, and we stopped at we were staying at the Circus Casino Motel, and he was a service dog, so I was able to have him there in the hotel. They were super cool about it. No questions asked, really. I showed them my card, and they said, absolutely, things are great. But to get to our room, it was on we had to walk all the way through the casino. So me and Wonka are walking through this casino in Reno at the Circus, and it was Christmas Eve night. They were doing a sexy Santa contest in the casino. So we're walking through this casino, and I have a rotund, just fat Australian Shepherd in a wagon, wheeling him through all these half-naked women dressed up like sexy Santa Claus. And we should have thought of that idea a long time ago. Because let me tell you, every girl in that casino would, oh my God, a dog. And they would come running over and they would just start scratching his head and, scratching his little ears. And he ate it up. He ate every second of it up. He was in heaven. I wasn't exactly unhappy about the situation myself, but it was so cute. Let me tell you, he was special. Man, we traveled all over this country. Me and old Wonka. He saw everything. One of the neatest things, I would say, I've seen Niagara Falls. I've seen everything I think this country really has to offer, the big things. And I think the prettiest thing I've ever seen, the most beautiful thing I've seen with my eyes, possibly in my life, we stopped in New Mexico, me and Wonka, at just at the side of the interstate, honestly, because I had to pee. And when I was sitting there and I looked up, and we're miles, at least an hour in every direction from any sort of civilization. So there's zero light pollution. I look up and the sky did not even look real. It was the most beautiful thing I ever saw. And I just pulled up a seat and I had a little seat that I would use for walking Wonka because he had so much trouble. So I would use it so he never had to feel rushed. Well, I pulled out my little seat and I just sat there at the side of the interstate, and it was New Mexico. So, I sat there for over an hour and never saw a single, vehicle, no traffic whatsoever. But just watched the sky. I just sat there and looked at the sky. I felt so close to God. I don't know. It was the most unreal, absolutely beautiful, prettiest thing I've ever seen. What else have I seen that's weird? Cool. In Wisconsin, I saw a giant cheese castle that has a bunch of cheese in there. That was pretty cool. I saw a huge statue of the Jolly Green Giant. That was, I guess, pretty neat. What else? I've seen the redwoods. Now, here's where I messed up. When I went to see the redwoods, the great big tall redwoods, I took a bunch of pictures. But what I didn't do is put anything close or around them to scale. Because, I couldn't go stand by the trees and take a picture because I was the only one there. That's one of the drawbacks to being a traveler. You're usually the only one there. But, I just took all these pictures, so I'm like, how cool is it? This tree is as wide as my pickup is. But then whenever you go back and you look at all these pictures of trees, they just look like trees because they're sitting next to all the other trees. I didn't think that one through. But they were super neat to see. But in the meantime, the ones of my folks that do keep watching, man, I sure appreciate you guys. Y'all are some wonderful people. I sure am blessed. So anyways, it's been mildly a big deal. A podcast with Bo Clowers. See you next time.